Hi, Minesh Baxi here, and I'm really excited to introduce Mr. Stuart Feravich to you. And he has an interesting business, and most of you have seen change. And Stuart has seen a lot more changes than some of us other people might have seen. So, Stuart, welcome.
Well, welcome. Thank you, Minesh.
And you are in technology, and you and I are about the same age, correct?
Correct.
And you and I have seen those big rooms with big computers, and now today, a lot more is in a small cell phone. Isn't that amazing?
It's quite amazing what the technology, how it's evolved, right?
Yeah, and you've seen a lot of different changes. So tell us a little bit about the changes you have seen in technology.
Well, I think the changes on two sides, right? I mean, just the size and the capacity, what you can do has been phenomenal, and the changes there. But the other thing, one I think is we sometimes overlook, is that what's consistent about it is how that it can elevate a business forward, how it can move them forward in ways they may not know.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, because an IT is just a tool for a business to grow.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I like to kind of sometimes think about it from a football analogy. You have the coach, which is really the business owner and what they're trying to get done. And then you have a technology coordinator that really comes along and helps them achieve their goals. You know, they need to block, they need to tackle, they need to do what they need to have in place in order to accomplish those goals. And technology, as it evolves and speeds up, you sometimes need long-term vision, and sometimes you need short-term things. Sometimes you need a kind of a flea-flicker play that kind of changes the game, changes the momentum, and other times you need things to be steady and long-term.
Interesting. And you have seen a lot of changes. So let's talk about your background. How did you get started in IT? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, really, it's two sides of that story. I think is really kind of sets the stage for what I do. Is I grew up on a farm. And so I learned early on is that there's more work than one person would ever do. So bringing along people to help you do that work is beneficial. But then the other side is, as you look and kind of observe a company and how they work, and they get their employees start to become taxed. They're like doing the same work repetitively, or they feel like, gosh, it's hard to come in on Monday mornings because my work is not fun, and it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And really kind of watching that, I had the opportunity to work at a small engineering firm, and they had a computer still in the box, and I was there, and I asked them, can I use that to try something? And the CFO said, sure, give it a run. And a couple of weeks later, I wrote a program, gave it back to them, and we were able to reduce costs, take away the temporary help that were coming in on a regular basis, and bring out payroll faster, be able to do invoicing more correctly. And so that way, the next day, the CFO looks at me and goes, well, what else can you do with that thing? So it was just the start of where watching what business does, what they're trying to achieve, and then bring the right technology to it.
Yeah, it's about to make it smoother, easier for people to work together and get the objectives that are important for them. And again, I was from IT background, and I was in my bachelor's program as well. I remember IBM 360, which most people have no clue what I'm talking about. Right? Yeah. A big room, and the memory size of a peanut compared to what today would be, right? But that's where the technology was. And I think the technology has made things easier and easier for us to get things done. But the problem happens, I think, when people don't know what their objectives are, and they don't know where IT fits in the whole environment. I think that's what happens to a lot of people. So how do you help people in IT? Because I think one of the challenges I think we were talking about is that most people don't really know whether they'll get an ROI, right? And the second question they always have, how hard is it going to be for me to change?
Exactly.
So how do you address those questions to people who are obviously business owners who may not understand fully what you do?
Well, really as an interview. Ask them what they're trying to get done, and then have a conversation about sharing examples of other customers, what we've been able to do, how to move them forward in that way. Because, again, everybody wants a story and understands how it can relate to them. We have this kind of thing where we think a lot of times we're very unique in what we do, but some of the challenges we have are common, right, that are out there. So having enough trust that they'll come along and ask you and kind of let you coach and kind of drive and direct where they should go with their technology. But part of that is technology is very expensive if you do it last minute, and you do it if you make changes often. So coming alongside the owner to know what their longer term goals are, their short term goals, very important to make sure that we put the right technology in place early on, and that it will grow with them or meet an upcoming pending growth. If somebody's going to double their employee staff in 6 months, it's much different than if they're planning to double that staff in 3 years, right? So how do you size the technology appropriately?
I think that's a quick again, the more you know your own objectives,
that's right.
The more you can explain to somebody like you, where you can understand, I think I see the picture, what you're trying to put together. I can be part of the picture here, and that's what happens as well. So what are some interesting, obviously you enjoy certain things about the business. So what are some of the things you enjoy about the business? I'm sure people would like to know about your personal fun and passion part of it.
So part of the fun about it is really education. And one of the things that I had the good fortune of doing early on in my career as I was actually finishing up school, early in the days, like you said, maybe not knowing 360, but CICS and databases were coming online, and the college did not have a program in that. So I actually, from a special studies, wrote a course that then we piloted with a couple of students and then went on the books for 13 years. So it's that idea of how to stay current with what's changing in the technology, but never being so worried that I'm not going to be able to stay up with it. And so that side of it is sometimes talking through the ease of how do you bring people on board, and you share a story where this is things we've done in the past. We've been able to do this. We've had great results. Here's some areas that we know that we want to avoid. And as you have those conversations, when you bring up topics that may seem a little bit outside of the norm of IT, it really helps them. For example, I was talking to someone the other day and brought up the cost of onboarding new employees. And they said, well, what's that have to do with technology? Well, as you kind of walked them through the scenario of how long does it take you to make that employee productive? And they said, well, 3 months. Well, maybe 6 to 9 months is really more realistic before we can let them go. Well, what are the challenges? And some of the things we talked about as well, the challenge comes from having to ask the questions of other people that are on the team that are busy, and being kind of apprehensive about asking those questions from the new kid on the block. It's like, well, I don't want to ask them and have them think I don't know what I'm doing. So trying to overcome that by using technology that harnesses some of that knowledge, taking it from tribal knowledge, it's often called, into institutional knowledge, so that they're able to understand the 90% of what has to happen, and then bring those kind of exceptions or hard questions to the people that have been there with experience, and they appreciate it much more. And then they also look at you as like you've done your homework to come bring me, so you're not bothering me. So very easy way to do that. And that kind of is where we differentiate ourselves from a lot of technology companies, because we do way more than just plugging in a piece of hardware. We really look at how does the business benefit from what technology can do with them today and tomorrow.
And again, if you can make it smoother, faster, easier for them, their goals will be accomplished a lot sooner than they normally think, and they'll not be hectically trying to get somewhere where they obviously feel they may not even get there. And technology makes the path easier. And I know from my own experience being in IT before that if you can get things done like much easier in terms of the process, understanding how the next step is. So that's definitely a big part as well. Who are the ideal clients that you work with, Stuart?
We work with industry is very open, right? Because every industry today takes on technology. Size-wise, 25 to 200 employees are a great fit for us. Multi-locations are phenomenal. Part of a nationwide network that we are very collaborative in sharing work. So I have some clients here that have offices in Tennessee and in Texas. It's very easy for us if we need to be on site to leverage the local resources, but still have the management from one location.
Yeah, and I think that, so your company and you are with CMIT. So tell us a little bit about CMIT.
Yeah, so CMIT started, really, this is kind of one of the things that it just brings to home what we're about and what we're doing. Back in the days of EDS, when GM was outsourced all their work to it, single moms or moms that were decided to go home and start a family wanted to stay in the industry. So they actually started Computer Moms IT.
Computer Moms IT
is where it started. A number of years later, a gentleman from IBM came along and saw the potential with it and really bought the name and changed it to completely managed IT. But the idea is the same, right? It's about our communities, about local resources and connections and relationships, which we know in business are so important. Building those relationships locally, but having reach. And that's why as an organization, we're very collaborative. 170 offices located all over the country, about 850 full-time technicians on staff. So it allows us to scale to really handle any size client that wants to do anything outsourced that says that's not my core business, but I want to stay current, and we move them forward.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yes, interesting.
yeah.
And how long ago did you get started?
2015.
2015.
So,
and before that, tell people, because I'm sure they want to know you were with CompuWare, right?
Yeah, I was with CompuWare for 20 years. CompuWare built software for the Fortune 500 companies. So involved from all the product lines, actually wrote code that's sitting in a number of the products today, managed the teams, the development teams, built security systems around HIPAA compliance and rolled that out across the world, modernized a number of data centers. Very interesting group. One of the most interesting tools, and I think this is how you look where technology goes beyond what you think it can do. Amsterdam Airport came to us and it was looking to try to really have a better way to set rent prices in their airport. And, if you walked in an airport and anyone's been there, you see there's a store on the corner and then there's stores around it. And you wonder, how do they set the rent on that? So what we actually did was monitor the early days of BlackBerry devices walking through the airport. And so we could show 20,000 people pass this corner on a month, 40,000 on a month. So they sent their rates based on that.
Traffic.
And so it was just black and white to how much money you want to spend. This is where you can be. And then it was just a matter of picking stores around you that were complementary or were competitive and you had a better product and wanted to be right next to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I think that's definitely shows the way of looking at business and IT as collaboration rather than separate pieces of a business.
Yeah.
And I totally understand from that perspective as well. Anything else you want to share with people about getting hold of you, getting in touch with you?
Yeah, so as far as getting in touch with us, CMIT Solutions of Greater Oakland County is our geography. But I'm heavily involved in the communities, both in the chambers of Troy and Farmington Hills, and involved with a number of organizations, nonprofit organizations that I truly believe in that will be making a change in the world around us.
Very good. And what would be next level of success, or what is it that is an important dream for you?
Well, one of my dreams is actually to be able to do more funding for my community organizations. I think, I had the good fortune of coming across the visibility of need about 10 years ago with an organization, Life Remodeled, which I think is phenomenal. And just wanting to do more to support their organization and others like them that are out there. And so as my business grows, a large part of my profits go back into the community.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Any fun personal stuff you do, not related to business or charity that we are talking about?
Well, I mean, it's hard to separate anymore because I really have, business and my work that I do in the community are so tied together. One very fun one that's enjoyable but also beneficial is a group called Full Throttle. We repair cars for single parents.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just a great way if you need, small things done that you're maybe a little bit strapped on cost and budget, we can help you out in that area.
Well, that's a great idea because in my opinion, God created all of us. We are children of God, and our goal should be to serve each other because at the end of the day, I think we are all children of God, so we can help each other. And I think that's a good message for all of us to focus on. So thanks again for the opportunity to interview you today. And I'm glad that people were able to learn a few things from your experience. And obviously, we are always looking for good quality stories, people who have what I would call they are hungry to get their message out, they're humble, and they're helpful. And you embody that. I can see that very clearly. You're helping the community a lot as well.
Excellent.
Thanks for coming, Stuart.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
My pleasure as well.